Before we dive into this episode, we just want to give a quick trigger warning for child abuse, self-harm, addiction, suicidal thoughts and ideation, and grooming. So if those are content that you can't consume right now, that's okay. We'll see you guys next week when we get tipsy, have some tarot, and have a good time. And if you have the space to listen to this episode right now, connect with us. We invite you in, we welcome you with open arms, and I hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Unfiltered Three, spilling the tea with Cece,
Autumn,
and Brie.
Hi friends. How are you today? We have a new journey we're going to embark on with you guys called our, what is it? Shit. It totally just went out of my head.
The healing journey.
The healing journey. Oh, that's just a great example of my brain. Oh, that's fun. So we're going to embark on this healing journey that, I will learn the name of with all of you. And we kind of just wanted to touch on, just like a lighter aspect of this journey, give you kind of like that summarized version. And then upcoming, this is going to be a monthly reoccurrence. We're going to get deeper and deeper into our timelines and our personal growth and our mental health journeys.
Yeah, there was a moment there for a while where we were kind of figuring out how to talk about mental health without it feeling forced, where it's natural. And yes, we talk about stuff at Tipsy Tarot, but we don't always want to be drinking and doing tarot while having these conversations. We want to be able to sit down and really get into this stuff with you guys. And I think this is a great way for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, because it's a serious topic and we want to give it that respect that it deserves. And we want more talk on it. We want more conversations about it. We want to relate with people who may have gone through the same situations, different ones, perspectives, all of that. And I think we finally found the right way for us to be able to start that journey with you guys. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I agree. It can be really heavy at times, and we want to try and open the communications up better. I need to learn how to speak. That as well.
All of us.
You need to learn how to talk. I need memory recall.
But we just kind of want to normalize this a little bit more. The more we talk about it, the more we share. We're hoping that the more you guys can relate and open up and share is just as much. Throwing my mic over. But a lot of this heavy stuff can really start when we're young. I've had some pretty traumatized moments through my life that are especially overwhelming for me. And the biggest one would have to be when I was young and I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. It took a huge toll going from being a very healthy young girl to waking up one day and not being able to walk. So super traumatizing and not understanding what's happening, being rushed to the hospital, being poked and prodded. And I definitely learned a lot of distrust and being scared and overwhelmed in this short amount of time. And then a lot of struggle after that. So
How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 7 when I was diagnosed. Literally, I mean, I can remember trying to like move and it being so painful and feeling like 1,000,000,000 pounds were on my entire body and being completely conscious going, what the hell's happening right now? And screaming for my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. My any sort of movement it felt so excruciating because all of my joints, JRA affects different people differently. Some get one joint, some get it when they're older. But I got it when I was young, and I got it in every single joint in my body. So a lot.
Yeah. And for those of you that may not know, and correct me if I'm not right, rheumatoid arthritis or just that disease in general is when your body attacks its joints, like it's a foreign object. And so your immune system is literally tearing down your joints.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets confused.
I can't even imagine the pain.
Yeah. I mean, now you see me and I'll be like, oh, am I limping? Whatever. I don't even feel it.
Yes, she does. I yell at her for some of the things you do.
I do. I'm very stubborn. I don't like to admit I'm in pain. And I mask it really well. So that's why even by physical therapists, I remember walking into PT one day and she was like, oh, you must be in so much pain. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you're limping down the hall. And I was like, I don't feel anything. She's like, your pain tolerance is so high that you don't even realize it. And that, little moments like that, like, oh shit, it is affecting me more than I realize.
Yeah.
And those are definitely big moments for me. That's actually how I found out I was depressed later in life. I went to a doctor and I said, I'm having a really hard time with anxiety. And we did the whole questionnaire and everything. And by the end, he said, I would like to put you on medication. But for a combo, anxiety, depression, he said, I think you're really depressed. And that was the start of my therapy, like, has helped me so much. And that was the start of that. I wish I had gotten to it when I was younger so I could have processed some of those hard feelings. I definitely recommend that to anyone who's having a rough time. If you need someone to talk to, and sometimes it's nice to just have not an anonymous, to start off, but you get comfortable and it's almost like your little friend that you can tell everything to, no judgment, whatever. And if you have that without seeing a doctor, that's great, but it's nice to have that professional side.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't know I was depressed. I did a lot of reflecting after that and realized that I had probably lived most of my life depressed from being in so much pain, for being different, for having these obstacles from my point of view. It was really hard. So yeah. And I don't always love talking about it because it's very heavy and emotional for me, but I'd like other people to know they're not alone. So with the JRA, I've had a lot of surgeries. I've had 4 joint replacements, and those are very tolling on me. I'm the type of person who will block out something until I need to be strong. So I would be like, what surgery's coming up? And then wheeling me in, I'd be like, oh shit, quick, knock me out, because I'm terrified.
Yeah.
So again, that anxiety and build up and, but just a lot of stress throughout my life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heavy, and it's especially heavy when during that time and like the generation that was taking care of you wasn't mental health forward, only physical health forward. So you had a lot of help in the physical aspect, but you didn't have any support or help in the mental aspect. And that's hard. That's a huge thing that you went through. That's huge.
Yeah. Some of the biggest things that I remember, I would have to say, would be, because I couldn't walk right away. I had to learn to walk and learn to deal with that, take the right medications and deal with the pain as I walked. So I would sit on the couch a lot. My parents would carry me wherever I needed to go and sit there. But once I was sat there, like, I couldn't get up and move around. It's very dependent and immobilized. And I remember feeling so sorry for myself because, everyone would get up and walk over the table and I was stuck there on the couch. And I don't, that you guys know, I'm still to this day, I don't like to ask for help. I get very close.
You don't want to feel like a burden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. that always comes up with me.
Well, it's also like a sense of pride. Like
Mhm.
you're like, I'm still human. I don't want to feel any different than you, even though I can't complete the same task you can.
Yes.
And so you're like, no, I don't want to ask for help because I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the frustration of having to rely on that help because you do need it.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
strong. You're strong.
Yeah. Those moments like that, though, that's where they stem from for sure. And feeling that, like, I feel so left out. I'm stuck in this spot I don't want to be, and overwhelming feelings. Again, just, you know, it's hard. It was hard. It still is sometimes. I still live my life like that, where I'm sitting on the couch and I'm exhausted. My body is exhausted. My mind's exhausted. And I still have to get up and do something, and I will fight it. I'm like, I know it's going to hurt to stand up, but just do it and everything. You know, like, I know I'm strong. Are you all right?
Yeah, it just kind of hurt.
Yeah, I saw that. Little nick of the knuckle on the edge of the table. Ooh.
Oh, okay. You are strong.
I know, but it like hurts my joint to see that. And like,
oh, I'm so sorry.
I saw it on the corner of my eye. I'm like, ooh. Yeah. I feel
I'm always smacking my damn fingers.
But with all that physical, I didn't dive into a lot of the mental health guidance until later, when I really went through something traumatic, which I've mentioned before, which is my late fiance, Jeff, passed away while he was away for work. And my life, again, changed in an instant. Receiving the phone call from the doctor and like hearing like he's gone. Like, oh, I don't want to start crying again, but it's like I can feel that moment.
And that happened during COVID. So it's like there's also that isolation on top of it.
Yeah. And it had killed me because he was in flight attendant school, and he had flown to an overnight in Rochester, and I was supposed to go see him, but the COVID thing like was bad, and they weren't letting people in the hotels, and I was staying with my mom, and she's like, no, you can't go. So I was like, I want to respect your wishes, and they probably won't let me in the hotel anyway because it's on lockdown. But I basically hadn't seen him in like months and months and months. And
it had been a while.
And then I didn't get to see him that time. So that really like was even like every little step more of a clench of, and what ifs, and just a lot of heavy shit. But
I feel for you.
What'd you say?
I feel for you.
Oh, thank you. You guys were there for me more than you know. I felt very alone during that time.
I feel like that's when you and I got the closest.
Yeah, I think so.
Time.
Just knowing that, like, I had this support system, and it didn't flow exactly how I thought it would, but it was like everything I needed. Getting the tears.
That's the raw, authentic part of
I know.
your mental health journey is the emotions.
I know. I want to be like, get through it. Like, I'm okay. Because
You're
again,
safe.
I
You're in a safe
know
space.
I'm safe. But that other half of me always wants to say, you're okay, you're fine.
Then you tell it, I'm safe. You're safe.
Feel your emotions. That's how you heal.
I just need to breathe. Oof.
Just breathe.
Let the rain fall down from your eyes. Let it wash away.
A ton of rocks.
Oh my gosh. Ugh.
Your insecurities. Sorry, I had to finish it.
No, thank you for making me giggle. So going through all of that was also during, again, quarantine. And so I flew out to say goodbye, and I came back, and I was alone for 2 weeks because I had to fly. So I'm locked in a room for 2 weeks, and I meditated like crazy. I virtually talked to everyone I could, old friends and new. I learned another great moment. Oh, this just came to me. I'm really happy. But a friend and I had reconnected, and we were chatting, and I didn't think he remembered me because I knew him from high school. And I was like, yo, like, how are you? How's the friend group that we used to play games and stuff together? It was great. Board games. So we started talking about all the video games and stuff we play now. And he's like, I remember you as always being the happy, like, fun, go lucky girl, and like always having a smile on your face. And I was thinking to myself, I was so depressed and lost.
Yeah. It just shows you can't judge a book by its cover. You just never know what's going on. You just never know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of dark days of the days he's like, you know, smile on your face. And I was like, you kid, you have no idea. It made me realize that people see you in a different light than you see yourself. I really didn't have that kind of aha moment until right then, where it was like, oh shit, like, pay attention to these moments because you're learning something new and deep that you didn't know before. It really set my perspective off with, I do want to be remembered like that. I want to be happy. I deserve to be happy. That came to me, and I decided from then on, like, I was going to grieve, but I was going to be happy in the long run.
What a beautiful moment.
It really was.
I remember watching it unfold, and I remember saying to Derek, being like, I don't think Cece knows how strong she is. Because that takes a lot of mental strength. That takes a lot of self-love to be able to, in the middle of such a grief like that, that was, but there was no, how do I say this? It was unexpected.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this happened out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And for you to, I mean, that change that you made within yourself it was crazy. It was cool to experience and watch that growth on the outside. Or like third person, second person. I don't know. I don't know. What's the word? I can't think of words right now. That was inspiring, I guess.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hit in the heart, man. Yeah. Yeah. Those are like probably my biggest moments. Up to date. But I'm very happy to say that I'm extremely happy. I love my friends. I have a very supportive family. I'm good. So, yeah, I've had shit and try.
Autumn keeps hitting things.
I'm a mess today.
It's all good. We all have those days.
Everybody has those days.
What is that from?
Nobody's perfect.
I'm gonna work it.
Again and again till I get it right. Who says? That's all I remember of that song.
Is it? Well, I don't know.
You really don't? What's another one? Can we keep going?
I'm the type of person who doesn't...
Oh, yeah.
who doesn't want to say what it is in case I'm not right.
Just say it.
I was going to say Cheetah Girls.
Oh, close.
Right era.
Yeah, close. But not right.
I know you guys reference some of their songs.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
There it is. That'll give it away.
Oh, Miley. Okay.
Were we
Hannah
singing? Was that?
Montana.
Okay.
I was just a little too old for that, but love me, Miley.
I love Miley. I don't even know where that tailed from.
That's my brain working for you.
I love it.
And us matching your energies.
So yeah.
Well, I
That's
thank
it.
you for sharing.
Thank you
Yes.
for listening.
I guess that brings it over to me. I have always been emotionally mature growing up. I was an only child till about 8 years old, I think. Yeah, I think we're 8 years apart. And for the most part, I was genuinely happy. Like, I was taken care of. We weren't rich by any means. We were tight on money, you know, always in a financial struggle position pretty much most of my life. But in the end, I always got what I needed and then some. But I remember moments of, you know, getting in trouble, and it would be extreme to me. And I would feel all these bad emotions. And I remember this one specific time where my mom yelled out, or my mom yelled at me. I don't know. I got in trouble. I got sent to my room. And I remember just screaming, I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. I had never heard those terms before. Like, I just started saying that. And so at that time, you know, my mom was like, don't you ever say that, yelling at me, stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to react. She was a mom at 22. She's still young herself. And so I never had that reaction again. I never experienced that. When I was younger, I would have what I now know as anxiety attacks. In the middle of the night, I would wake up and just like be fully convinced that I couldn't breathe. I hadn't been breathing. I was going to die, like fully convinced, all of this stuff. Some other symptoms that I've had that kind of relate to what I believe my mental illnesses are. I don't want to say that I have them because I don't have that professional diagnosis, I guess, but I do a lot of research and I've read a lot and I know myself. And so I'm 75% certain. You know, I still got that self-doubt. But I used to count specifically windows, and I'd have to count how many lines there were, and it had to end evenly. It had to end multiples of 10. And I would literally do it for hours, and like on drives when I was overstimulated all sorts of different times. I would have to count numbers, and I couldn't stop till it stopped. I don't know. Eventually later on in life, I got stronger at being able to stop it. But yeah, so those are just some of the symptoms that I've experienced like growing up that has acclimated more and more into what I believe I suffer from as far as like mental health issues. And it's definitely depression. I know I have depression. I've had, you know, I've experienced in my life addiction around me. I've experienced, you know, that unstable financial of not fully feeling like you're in a permanent space. You have that temporary feeling of not knowing if this is going to be your home or, you know, it's just stuff of that nature. I hate that feeling. I absolutely despise that feeling. And I would say that through a lot of that, I've had, you know, those moments where it's just like, okay, depression definitely hit those moments. You know, I made that move that I've talked about where, you know, it was abrupt and it was sudden and it was not easy and it led into a pretty dark-ish period. I would say probably not my darkest moment, but one of them where my parents went through a brief divorce. My dad moved back up to New York. And then that stemmed into a whole shit ton that, you know, we're going to do more episodes. I'll touch more on that later on. But yeah, that was probably when I noticed I had depression. I was like, okay, I did as much research as I could. I've never been as deep into my depression as suicidal, luckily. The thoughts have crossed my mind, but nothing to the severe point. You know what I mean? More so,
Yeah.
you know, the idea of like, oh, how would they feel if I weren't here kind of situations, but not planning or anything.
Yeah, it's
like
the
that.
passive thoughts.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I was in a really traumatic relationship that was very abusive, emotional, a little bit of physical, stuff of that nature, mental. And when that ended, I went into like a 2-year depression stage where I just didn't do anything. I worked, I slept, I read a fuck ton of books. Books were my saving grace.
Yeah.
Because you had 2 jobs, right?
I had 2 jobs. I was a full-time student, and I still had a social life. And then my breakup happened. And that all ended at the same time my breakup happened. And so it kind of felt like this whole change, and there were plans that didn't happen and stuff of that nature. And I was emotionally just shattered. I was just shattered. I was a shattered person. I was broken, very broken.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Uh-huh. I was very broken, and I was 20, so I was very young. Yeah, I just kind of got through it. I don't know. I didn't talk to anyone. I know it's really bad, but I just kind of got lost in books. I got lost in a different story that helped me not be in mine. It helped me not focus and spiral and dwell. And then I eventually ended up going out. I think I turned 21, which, helped a little bit. I ended up going out a little bit to the bars that later that summer, but nothing that I do now.
Yeah. I feel like there's those moments after something big and heavy like that where you just need some time for yourself, but also to get out of that survival state. And that looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
It was such a different aspect to me too, because as a child, I never wanted to be home. I always wanted to be at a friend's house. I always wanted to be going and doing stuff. I just didn't want to be home. And if I was home, I wanted a friend over. I always had that motivation to go and do. And this was a complete change, the opposite flip of a coin, where I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it went unnoticed or it went noticed and no one said anything to me, but I didn't really have anyone reach out and be like, hey, are you okay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got through it. I don't hold the grudges or anything like that. That time period, I learned to depend on myself. I created that independence, even though it was really strong. It was really strong. It was a struggle and it was long. I became the person that I am because I went through that.
Do you remember how you got out of that?
I think I just started wanting to do more. Honestly, I don't know. It took a lot of, self-reflection. It took a lot of, I don't want to live in this numb state of nothing.
Yeah.
And I just finally got okay, I want to do that. And it could have been, so much as a friend reaching out to me and being like, hey, you want to do this? And then me going and doing that and then being like, oh, wait, I'm actually having fun. I remember what it's like to have fun. So then I would go and want to do more and stuff of that nature. I do think around that time, my cousin moved in with me. And so I had that, I can't remember timeline-wise if that happened before or after. I want to say it happened after. But I had that sense of companionship again, like a friend or someone to be there. So my cousins were a huge help. Help. Yeah. They're my brothers.
Yeah. People you can lean on and actually trust and you're safe with.
Yeah. And then anxiety, that happened kind of around that area too. Obviously I had those attacks when I was younger, but for the most part they did end up stopping. And I would always be nervous, couldn't talk in front of people, have those types of anxieties, and had to plan everything out. I would go through every sequence of anything that could possibly happen and have a plan for it. I would do all those things, but I didn't genuinely know what that was. And I had a family member who was diagnosed with anxiety. So I had been around it. I'd been more a little bit more comfortable with it as far as, the symptoms and stuff of that nature. And I didn't realize I personally was struggling with it until I was older, like in my 20s. And I was like, oh shit, you know, I have that. And then it's like, damn, you kind of wish you don't realize you have it.
Yeah.
Because now you're hyper aware.
Yeah. Now you're having anxiety that you're having anxiety.
Yeah,
And that's giving you anxiety.
Yes, absolutely. It was an anxiety spiral.
Yep.
And yeah, and so I've kind of always, I researched the shit out of that. I went through the whole, I know mental or professional help is, what you need, but it just hasn't been in my budget. It is a goal of mine.
It's a privilege, not something that's
Oh,
accessible
gosh,
to
yeah.
everyone.
Absolutely. And so it's a goal of mine, but I've done everything that I can personally. I journal when it's too much and I need to get whatever I need to get out. And yeah, I want to do that. That's a goal of mine that I really want to do, because I feel like just with that, you have this relief of just knowing exactly what it is and then being able to focus on it and help nurture yourself through it. But yeah, I feel like I rambled a little bit because I'm not really sure what to touch on.
Yeah.
But I did mention how I've emotionally matured at a young age, and I've honestly been hyper self-aware. It's probably since middle school or high school about how my perspectives change, how I vibe off of others, things of that nature. And I'm sure it had to do with a lot of childhood stuff of, just I was always aware of our financial situation as a kid. Probably shouldn't have been, but I was.
Yeah.
And so me, being a people pleaser and wanting to help and being in a situation and wanting to find the solution and whatever, would worry about it. And so then I would be self-aware of my own spending, what I've asked for, stuff of that nature, but also still want, like I see everyone else have and stuff, being young.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to babysit my sister from, I don't even know, whatever age, 7th grade. I don't know, 7th grade all the way up till we moved back up here, till they moved back up here in 2011. And so that's when I was a senior. So 6 years. And I just remember like feeling like a parent and having, like, if I wanted to do stuff, I had to make sure my sister had somewhere to go, and I had to feed her, or I had to figure out, okay, well, if I do this, I have to be home at this time to get my sister off the bus, and just like, but also being pissed because I'm not a parent.
Yeah, the parentified older child.
Yeah, and like wanting to do things that I should have been able to do and not having to see and figure out where my sister needs to go. And so, yeah, there's a lot of resentment towards my sister at that age. Like, we didn't get along whatsoever, but we were going through the same shit.
Yeah.
And we couldn't relate to one another because we did not get along. Like, we did not get along at all. She's my best friend now. Love the shit out of her. We got along when she was around like the age of 12. We went on a trip together and we realized that we weren't the issue. I'm just kidding. But we bonded and it's been good ever since. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we're sisters. We fight. We piss each other off. We get agitated. But at the end of the day, we have conversations. We talk about it and we talk through it. But yeah, so I mean, that allowed me to be self-aware, which I think helped when I went through my bout of depression for those 2 years, is like already having that awareness and like that, almost that confidence, and like I knew I was like aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to be doing our personal journeys next. And when I have mine, I will make sure it's more precise and not kind of everywhere. But I would say, like, those are my biggest bumps where I remember being affected the most, and like how it started to where it led up. And now I've come a long way. Like, I'm nowhere near perfect, but I can set a boundary. I can respect others' boundaries. I can understand when my energy needs to not be around others' energy because I'm not able to give off what I need to give off. And I can respect when others need that. And I can see those things now and grow from them. And I'm still learning myself and still growing. But those situations, as shitty as they are and how I wish I didn't have to go through them, have shaped me into who I am today.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of like viewing. Yeah, because everyone has their own hardships, and their heart is fucking hell. But we wouldn't be who we are today without them. It's almost nice to kind of reflect in those moments,
Yeah.
because we're all pretty fucking cool. Gotta say it.
Yeah, I have bittersweet feelings about that sentiment.
Yeah, it's like it borderlines that toxic positivity where it's like, well, that's really shitty, but at least there's this. And then it's like actually just trying to get yourself in that positive state.
Yeah, I struggle all the time with telling myself that I'm proud of myself, that I'm strong or whatever, because there's always that part of me that's just so resentful of the shit that I had to go through. Like, why couldn't I just had a normal upbringing and just not have to struggle with this stuff, But I also am the first person to be like, you are so strong. I'm so proud of you to get through all that.
Yep.
Which I am for both of you.
Absolutely. And I'm proud of you. I know
Oh
you
my
haven't
God,
shared
yeah.
yet, but I'm proud of you. And I think that that's one of the biggest struggles when going through your mental health and your personal growth is finding that peace in those situations that were so fucking hard. And that you have the question of like, why? This feels senseless and pointless, but just hurtful.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I'm working through right now is working through my childhood trauma. And so my relationship with my parents growing up was not good. It was okay as like a younger child. I was the last, I'm the youngest, I was the baby, and my mom wanted to soak up the time with the last baby. But as I started to, come into my own, gain my own consciousness, my own independence, and wanting that for myself, that's when we started to butt heads more and more. And my parents were very authoritative when it came to how they handled conflict and discipline. I will give them credit, though. They did not physically abuse me. They did not spank me, hit me, or anything like that. They were the first of our generational line to not do that. And for that, I am proud of them. And at the time, for this generation of parents not learning or not doing that, they didn't really have the tools to know how to fill those gaps. So looking back, like, I can forgive them in that essence, but at the same time, it still holds true that I shouldn't have gone through what I've gone through. But it was just a lot of screaming matches. I got everything taken away from me. Like, any punishment you can think of that wasn't hitting, that isn't actual abuse. Like, I still had my bedroom. I still was fed. They didn't withhold anything of like basic needs for me. But everything else
took your identity away when they take your phone away, or they take your normal privileges away of like going to a friend's house or having that escape of your everyday life, of your routine, because it wasn't generalized. That wasn't a needed thing. That was a privilege in that way. And I can relate to that hardcore. Because that was my parents' way of disciplining. Was not abuse physically, but I would get everything taken away. And at one point grounded for months.
Oh yeah. I wasn't allowed to go out to see my friends at all. Like, I had to ask them permission for that, or to eat food or anything like that. I had to ask him permission for everything. And it just got to a point in high school where it was really bad, because on top of everything else, sometimes my grade would slip, and that would cause problems. If I had any sort of attitude with my parents, that would cause problems. It felt like every little thing I did, it was always my fault, and it would cause this big, huge commotion. And that was the time where I talked about this, I think, in the moving episode, where I was able to get access to my roof and look up at the stars, and it faced the west coast. And so I would look out onto the horizon and look at the moon and stuff and be like, my family is out there and they're looking at the same moon as me, or something, like just wishing so badly that I could be with them. And I would see movies, one of my favorites around Halloween, Hocus Pocus. That part where Max Dennison is comforting Danny, his little sister. And I just longed for that so badly, because I have a brother who's 10 years older than me, and I would just picture him being able to comfort me and protecting me from my parents, and, you know, having resentment towards them that they took that away from me on top of everything. And it led to a place where I ended up with someone older who touched on those feelings, and where I felt safe and comforted, and I was groomed.
Yeah, manipulated.
Yeah. And we were in that relationship, like, I was fully convinced that I loved him and he loved me too, and he just was with other girls because he was killing time till I was 18 and could be with him. But there was a point where my parents found out. It was like a few months in, it was early on. Because my friends told the school, and then the school called me in, having already called my parents, having already called CPS, like haven't even heard my story or anything. So I was
it's your fault.
Yeah. Didn't check up on me afterwards or anything like that either afterwards.
Yeah, because
I was, for context, I was 14 when it started. He was 25.
that's fucking gross.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back now, yes.
Yeah.
But I was in huge trouble by my parents afterwards.
Yeah, and to like be fair to you, when you're 14, you don't fucking know.
No.
You're like, oh my God, this
yeah.
cute boy has interest in me. You don't understand the difference of being 25 to 14. Like, you don't get that.
He was validating my feelings. He was
Yeah.
comforting me. He was the only person I was truly feeling safe with that was filling that hole that I had. And then when my parents found out, I was the one that got in trouble. I had everything taken away. And that's where a really big rift happened between me and my parents. And that entered probably one of my two darkest times. And I don't remember where I was going to go with that. So later, Bree will remember in my episode that we're going to do just on me, but I want to insert there. But that entered, like I said, one of my two darkest times. And that's where I personally, I'll put a trigger warning here about suicidal talk. So if you struggle with that, if that's something hard for you to hear, skip forward a few minutes. But it started off as passive thoughts. That was the time, that's what I was going to say. That was the time where I realized that my parents couldn't do anything else to me aside from actually truly abusing me. So I would sneak out of the house. That would be the time where I could go meet up with my friends because that's the only time I could. So I'm going to go sneak out the house and hang out with them. And they also had shitty upbringing and had to escape from their houses, and we were there for each other and we had a lot of fun. Looking back, was it safe? No. But it was a lot of fun, and I have some good memories then, and they're memories where I was able to continue living. Like, they were the reason I kept going. Those chances where I was able to get out of the house or like have my iPod, like I didn't have my phone, but I had my iPod, and I was able to get messages on there without my parents knowing. So I was able to text him, but also my friends. And so I was able to keep going, but it got to the point where I did self-harm. And my parents thought that it was because I had a friend who did that. And so I was only doing that because I was influenced by my friends. And so they even somehow made it more restrictive to see my friends. And then it would only make it worse. They also got mad at me for that when they found out. So I just hid it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was the only thing that was keeping me alive. Like I had plans. I had many plans. And I got right up to the plans where I was about to. And I kept going. And at the time, I felt like a failure because I couldn't go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I hate when it comes to talk around suicide, when people say, oh, they were successful or they were unsuccessful. There's no success in that.
Mm-mm.
They lost their battle
Mm-hmm.
or they persevered. They were strong and kept going. But there was no success in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I felt like a failure, is because of hearing talk like that. So if you were able to hear this story, I do hope you take that with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was high school, and it was like the other thing that kept me going was the thought of like I just had to turn 18 and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really have a plan because I didn't truly believe deep down that I was going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents were like, hey, you like doing audio engineering or you like music? Why don't you take this in college and you go out here? I'm like, okay. I mean, I get to get out of the house, I get to go to college and then make a career, and then I can go do this, like in daydream land, like, oh, this is going to happen. And then I get to college and it's very isolating.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere that it wasn't a local college, so I didn't know anyone there. And it took me a whole year to make friends. And then when I did finally make friends, about 6 months in, or like a full semester in, I had my incident that I now suffer from PTSD from. And after that happened, I at first tried to just struggle through it and, pull myself up by the bootstraps and keep going like I always have. Just keep going. But it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was more and more isolated. And
It just feels like every time you stood up, you got kicked right back down.
yeah,
That's rough.
It's intense.
Yeah.
that was the time where I was gonna die that night. But I had one last chance. I called my parents to see if they would let me leave, to give me a new shot. Will they do it? I don't know. But I wanted to take that one last chance and call them. And they let me. They removed me from the situation. They let me take a break. They put me they took me to the doctor. I told the doctor what I was experiencing. She said, you need to go to therapy. And that was the one time where I've been able to go to therapy. Something that I was wishing for since high school, and told my parents I was wishing for, but they were against it. But now that it was like at this point,
A doctor dictated it.
Yeah.
It was diagnosed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was able to go to therapy, and that's kind of where my life started to turn around, where I started healing, where I was able to then go back to college and have a good experience. And that's where I went for wellness management. So on top of having gone to therapy and learning techniques and learning this healing journey and what I truly deserve, I was able to then also learn for myself and all these techniques on how to take care of myself and take things back under my control. And then I met Andy, and then I moved out here. And then it's just, I've been on this healing journey ever since then. I haven't really, yes, I deal with seasonal depression. Yes, I still go into those really dark moments. And yes, I still struggle with suicidal thoughts and thoughts of self-harm when it gets really bad. I haven't harmed myself since 2014.
I'm proud of you.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't think people realize how, I don't want to call it an addiction.
No, it's addicting. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
it's an outlet. It's a release for you to feel something physical and not just mental. And you get addicted to it.
But that's why, like, if someone comes to you and they're dealing with that, you don't want to immediately take away all the like, get them that professional help, but don't immediately just take those things away, because if they don't have those tools of an outlet, you could have made the situation worse. So that is a tricky situation to deal with. But I have had a winter here where I looked at Andy, I'm like, you need to hide this from me, because I was just that tempted. I think it was like after that big summer where we burnt ourselves out so deeply, and it was after COVID, and you know, no, I'll talk about that in my personal episode of what I experienced through there. But yeah,
they've popped in again. Those thoughts. Yeah.
Deep depression, PTSD. I have my diagnoses for those things. I do think now that I'm further on this healing journey and more self-aware into the things I do think I have other things of diagnoses that I could pursue. That's just not in my budget right now. I desperately want to get back into therapy, because it's, even though I have you guys, even though I have my healing tools and everything, it's still lonely. And I feel like when you talk to a therapist, someone who like professionally like really gets it and helps you get to those aha moments and really
work through it.
Yeah.
Fully work through it. And you have that legality of it having to be a safe space. That's just comforting.
Yeah, totally.
That you can't get from others, even with the trust and everything.
And it's like that assurance of like they have all the education and tools and like
resources.
Yeah. We can have our research and everything, but it's like they have their certification, their licensing, and it's just like, okay, cool.
Our research is them.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just getting it from the first hand source or second hand sourcing it. Yeah, no, for sure. And that's something, like I said, that's a goal we probably share, is being able to, see the psychiatrist and also see the therapist, and getting just that confirmation in a way, that relief off your shoulders of like, okay, I know I have this, and now I know I can focus on these techniques. I can learn these tools and stuff, and
and not having to like think a step ahead of yourself too, and like having to research further. Like they kind of take that load off of you. You can just focus on healing,
or the spiral. Like I've had a lot of symptoms of where I'm like, okay, I could have A or B, and A is a subset of B. B can coexist with A, and you're just like, what in the fuck do I suffer from? Because then if I go after A, the tools for A don't necessarily help. The tools are not the same as the tools for B, and can make B worse. And it's like, you have that, what the fuck do I have just kind of taken from you, like
there's
you said.
So many comorbidities too. Like you could have one thing that has, like you said, the similar symptoms and everything, but you could have both, or you could have something that covers both of those things.
Yeah, it's the mental, it's such a web.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, when it comes to your own self-healing, diagnoses help, sure, but you also don't need that to provide yourself with accommodations.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that's something that I had to work through, is like actually admitting to myself that I have a disability, an invisible disability. Ooh, the gaslighting of myself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember after having that aha moment that we'll touch on later, I then had to consistently have that aha moment of like, oh my God, that's what this is. Oh, right. This is what it, and then it was only internal. It wasn't external yet. I didn't talk about it with people yet.
Yeah.
And then I remember finally talking about it, and then it being like, okay, no, this isn't a hush hush thing. I shouldn't have to feel bad in any way, or this isn't negative. This is who I am. This is normal. This should be I will always say mental health should be as normalized as your physical health. You have a physical evaluation every year. You should have a mental evaluation. Everyone should have that. We would be so healthy.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was going. So yeah.
Yeah, if there's one thing about me ever since that moment where I picked up the phone is that I am going to heal loudly. My parents were so shut off and hush hush about mental health stuff, which I'll get into in the future episode, but I'm going to heal loudly. I'm going to make sure that I know that I'm not alone, and reassuring other people that they're not alone, and then also telling me that, hey, I relate to that. And then it's like, okay, yeah, I am not alone. And it's just so, so important to me.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that's led us to this, the podcast, and creating this safe, nurturing environment where we can share all of our highs and lows.
Yeah.
I have never had a relationship like I have with the two of you. Being able to, I mean, like I have Derek, but like a friendship type of thing where like we have talked about all of that, and we have those deep connections, and we have that sense of I can be vulnerable and it will be okay. Mind you, it's still uncomfy. We're still working through it. We're still getting used to it, but it's something that we've grown and we want to share. And I'm so thankful for, because I've never had that before. And that's what I always was striving for. That I was always looking for, was to have that kind of connection where it's like, it's okay to just be you. I don't have to be the version of me that you need. I can just be the version that I need and be myself.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, I've definitely felt the walls come down with you guys slowly. I mean, there are some strong, thick, tall-ass walls, but they're coming down, and I feel it, and it's a little scary sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But I started tearing up. I'm like, yes, it's scary, but it's so incredibly worth it.
It's like nurturing. It's like
Yes.
a good fear, a good scary.
It's honestly healing in its own way. It's a new level of healing that I just didn't come to expect, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Your journey can take you in marvelous places.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Whoa, 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 yeah.
Full circle.
No copyright. That's so funny.
It's just a cover by Autumnal Rocks.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we had this moment with you guys and being able to officially start this journey with the podcast. And I think it'll go to great places, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I encourage you to continue tuning in. We're going to have these discussions once a month. And I'm really excited to have these authentic conversations, because while I love playing the games and doing the tipsy tarot and having those lighthearted conversations, I really love connecting on a deeper level.
Yeah. And then we'll lighten everything up with a tipsy tarot next week.
Yes.
Definitely a balance.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Unfiltered 3. Remember, we release new episodes every Monday. But if that's not enough, connect with us on our socials at Unfiltered 3, where we can uplift, inspire, and embark on this journey together. Thank you for listening and for being a part of our community. Until next time, take care and keep shining your authentic light. Bye, guys.
Bye.